Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be discussing blood flow and circulation throughout the body, focusing on the pulmonary and systemic circulatory systems. I'll first look at blood flow through the heart, as the heart is responsible for regulating blood flow throughout the entire body. I will then look at pulmonary and systemic circulation, because this is where important gas exchange occurs, which is necessary for homeostasis to be maintained. Pulmonary circulation includes the vessels that transport blood between the heart and the lungs, and systemic circulation supplies all other parts of the body. Now firstly, as we can see here, there are 4 chambers of the heart. There are 2 superior chambers called the right and left atria, and 2 inferior chambers called the right and left ventricles. There are valves within the human heart which help regulate the flow of blood. They act as one-way doors so that blood flows through the heart in one direction. Blood first enters the heart via the superior and inferior vena cava. This blood has just come from the systemic circulatory system and is deoxygenated, meaning that it contains very little oxygen. It enters the right atrium and passes through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. From here it goes through the pulmonary valve and enters the lungs via the pulmonary arteries. The lungs are a part of the pulmonary circulation system, and as we can see here in the diagram, within the lungs important gas exchange occurs, whereby carbon dioxide is released from the blood and oxygen is picked up. This occurs via the process of respiration, which is when we inhale air. This is made possible due to the partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Once the blood becomes oxygenated, represented by the red in the diagrams, it is carried back into the heart by the pulmonary vein, as we can see back over here. From the pulmonary vein, it goes through the mitral valve into the left ventricle, then it goes through the aortic valve and exits the heart via the aorta. The aorta branches into arteries, which then become arterioles, and finally become capillary beds. As we can see here, capillary beds are situated throughout the body and are important locations for gas exchange. They are much smaller than the arteries and arterioles, which allows them to have a large surface area. This aids in gas and nutrient exchange. The more metabolically active a cell is, the more capillaries are present, because there is a higher need for nutrients and for waste products to be carried away. There are several main arteries and veins which service active areas of the body. The 2 that we're focusing on at the moment is the hepatic artery and vein, which are located near the liver and the stomach, or the digestive system, and then the renal artery and vein, which are located near the kidneys. Within the capillary beds, oxygen is taken from the blood so that it can be used within the tissues, and carbon dioxide, which is a waste byproduct, is put into the blood so that it can recirculate to the lungs to be expired via respiration. This occurs because the blood, which is now lacking in oxygen, represented by the blue, exits the capillary beds and travels through venules, then into veins, then into the superior and inferior vena cava, where the whole process starts again. Now, to summarise, blood flows through the heart, through the lungs, where gas exchange occurs, back through the heart, where the blood is now oxygenated and full of nutrients, and through the systemic circulatory system. Capillary beds are located throughout the body, and this is where important gas exchange occurs so that all metabolic activities can take place and carbon dioxide can be disposed of safely. So thank you, and I hope you learned a lot about the pulmonary and systemic circulatory system today.